Good morning and welcome to another Your Lurgan podcast on this greyish kind of Sunday. The summer seems to have disappeared. Mind you, it does that. One day we have it beautiful, the next day, well, that's what it is to live here in Northern Ireland. Good morning to you. I'm Donagh McKeown.
And I'm Michael Scott, half asleep, but still here.
Well, so that's what it's about. You're allowed to take a wee lie in. All the hard work that you do, the running after the football, and that's just watching it, and all the sort of stuff that you do.
Keeping you right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the real thing. That's the hardest job. So a busy week, and it certainly started that way. Very controversial, I suppose, for some people, but lots of hard news this week, or certainly this first story has been.
Yeah, well, it's been the major dominating story of the week, and that's the council strike and how that's affecting people. Of course, how the workers feel about what's been going on, and of course the council's point of view and what's been happening as well. So it obviously kicked off on Monday, and we sent you down to speak to the representatives of the unions to see what their point of view. Maybe it'll be a good idea just to start off by playing a little bit of what they had to say, so people get an idea as to why the workers are on strike.
There's two elements to this dispute. First one centres around the ongoing issue around harmonisation of terms and conditions. We are 7 years into the formation of ABC Council, and still we have a number of employees yet to be confirmed in post and are still working on their legacy terms and conditions, which means that they are at a detriment compared to some of their colleagues.
Explain that to those listening who don't know what the concept of legacy means in this context.
Okay, there were three councils came together in 2015 to form ABC Council, and therefore then those were originally on their terms and conditions that they came across in, but through time we were looking to obviously harmonise those terms and conditions so everyone would be on the same contract. In other words, you had people doing the same job but were on three different rates of pay.
So you're trying to align all of those so they all get the same as they were, if not previously, that they're all getting exactly the same for the job that they're doing.
That would be correct. And we have people in higher management within this council who have already went through that process and have benefited from it.
So is there a suggestion there that higher members, higher level, are getting benefits of that basis and other members aren't? That's what you're saying?
Well, they would have benefited for the past 7 years in relation to the uplifts in their pay. Yes, that would be correct.
All of that taking place at the South Lake Centre, the sports centre, as it were, on the site of the Balancing Lakes. Quite a crowd there at the time, and there was major confusion, I think, for people. They just didn't realise that the centre wasn't going to be open. I suppose they had to make that decision at the last moment, and more from the staffing point of view. That was a big surprise that I wasn't quite aware of at the time, but very shortly afterwards. It possibly isn't the situation now. People are having to walk through that picket line, fairly substantial too.
The situation with the facilities has been fairly fluid. We've been trying to keep people up to date with what's been happening on Your Lurgan, because council staff, council press team have been very good in putting out updates in terms of what's going to be open, what's not going to be open, what they expect to happen on a daily basis. But I suppose from the council's point of view, they'd like to see this resolved very quickly. As the week developed, we really pick up a picture of, how this was playing out. Obviously, bins just weren't being collected. Street cleaning, while there was limited street cleaning, I think it's fair to say, we can see that obviously a lot of bins, just street bins, aren't being emptied. I mean, down the street from where I am, there's one that's sitting full. There's rubbish sitting beside it. It looks an absolute mess. The other thing we've picked up on as well, and we'll do something on this next week, because we wanted to see how the weekend played out. Sporting facilities. We talked there about the leisure centre and how they were open and closed. I mean, I was using one during the week that was open at, I think I was at it around 3 o'clock, and apparently then at 4 o'clock it closed for the day. But as well as that, it means that sporting clubs have been affected in how they play, because obviously a lot of sports clubs use council facilities for training. and even for matches as well at the weekend. I know one team has had to switch their game because, or this weekend, because the council pitch isn't open. I know one youth football club who would usually play on AstroTurf have had to play on a very bobbly grass pitch next to it. I don't even think it's a proper pitch. I think they're just sort of training on grass to try and basically keep their players fit and healthy. So it's going to have an impact on that as well. And, you know, it's getting to the stage where people really want to see a resolution to this. Now, I know both sides are very keen as well to get a resolution to this as well. But it looks as though we're going to see a second week of industrial action here, at least. I know we're sort of anticipating 4 weeks.
And that, of course, just to put in context too, is from one of the major unions, Unite the Union, will be going on this 4-week strike.
Yeah.
The others are still to decide what their strategy will be ongoing. Isn't that the situation?
That's right. Yeah, I think some of them are taking different types of action after the end of the first week, or had planned to take different types of action, but that could change. We just don't know. We know that on Thursday there was a meeting of the council group leaders, who basically so asked the leaders of the council on each of the political parties, so SDLP, Sinn Féin, DUP, UUP, and Alliance. I'm not sure if the independent members also get to attend that. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, that meeting was held, and we know that Sinn Féin had sent out a press release on Thursday evening, late on Thursday evening, to say that they were making a proposal which they hoped would bring the situation to a resolution. Now, as far as we know, that wasn't accepted by the rest of the group leaders. Now, we think there may have been further discussions between the unions and the council over the course of the last few days, but as it stands, the strike's still on. So we're set for another week of disruption anyway, of some kind. We don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but keep an eye on your Lurgan, because we'll have all the latest updates as they come in.
And on our media and in others, sometimes our social media, sometimes the wider media, there are expressions of disappointment and also of support for all activities. It's quite amazing the difference of opinion that this is bringing out, isn't it?
I think the one thing that everyone agrees on is that everyone is entitled to fight for a pay rise. And, you know, I think everyone, nobody would argue if the workers were to get a pay rise. I don't think that's the issue at all. It's whenever council services are being affected that people deem necessary. For example, the bins, the very essence that there will be people there who will not have had their bins emptied now or for maybe 3 weeks because of the way that the bins are emptied. We were very lucky in my household because we were away for a week. We were due to have our black bin emptied this week. And because we were away 2 weeks ago, our black bin had been emptied that week, so there was nothing else going into it. So we only have a half full black bin at the minute. I'm not inviting people to come around and fill up my black bin, by the way, but because I think we'll do a very good job of it this week ourselves.
I was really nearly out the door there, Michael,
I know.
with the stuff, because I collect. I have problems with my bin collections in my kitchen.
I know. I've been there.
You've been there. So it's getting the bins collected upstairs to bring downstairs to the outside bin is the real problem for me. It wouldn't matter when the other bins were collected, but that's a personal problem for me anyway.
It'll be interesting to see how the mood is amongst members of the public in a week or two's time, whenever bins still haven't been emptied and the streets or the bins in the streets still haven't been emptied, and the place is looking a lot more untidy. Hopefully it won't come to that. Hopefully there will be a resolution.
The ideal situation for all of us, inside or out, is some sort of resolution or some sort of ongoing discussion, that's for sure. Just
to point out as well that there is a full meeting of ABC Council, and I think there should also be committee meetings as well this week. The full meeting's taking place on Monday, so hope we'll keep an eye out on that there to see what comes out of that and what is said by the councillors, because let's just say that what councillors have been saying well, actually, it was more to the point what they haven't been saying. They've been very quiet over this issue in the last while, to be quite honest. I thought we would have had a lot more interaction from our elected representatives over the last week, but we haven't. We've had one press release from the SDLP, which was a letter they sent to the chief executive, and one from Sinn Féin. So I'm surprised that they haven't been all over this. Sorry, I wasn't one from Sinn Féin, but we've actually had two from Sinn Féin.
Are you saying that there's different political opinions on where this should go or what's happening?
There's probably different obviously there's different political opinions on how this should be resolved, because, for example, the SDLP have told us that they would like to see there was a £1 million, what they termed a slush fund. It was a fund which was going to be split up between each of the district electoral areas, the DEAs as they call them, which was worth £1 million, so 140,000 I think to each area, and they wanted to see that scrapped to help fund the what would resolve the crisis. Sinn Féin had a different proposal. I can't remember off the top of my head what it was, but I think it was basically something to do with incremental pay rises. I can't remember off the top of my head. So there's obviously different solutions or different proposals being put together as to how this can be resolved. So that's I think everybody wants to see it resolved.
And the unions themselves give you very much different figures. The amounts that the incremental changes would be up to something like 880,000 they talked about. And their suggestion was, not to go back into the whole discussion, that there already was not a slush fund, but a substantial amount of money put aside by the ABC Council that way and above the level that you're talking about, 20 odd million, that was not easy to go to, but was there in reserve, and that it didn't need anybody's intervention from any other councils. This was within the ABC Council, this discussion, nothing to do with the higher pay rise that's going to come down the line anyway. That's what I took from the discussion.
The council reserves, every council has a reserve, and those are there in case of a disaster where you can probably imagine this word disaster. Say, for example, there's some sort of big problem happens and they need money in the emergency to go. And I suppose like any good household that's run, you always have an emergency pot of money to sit there and dip from if you really need it in the case of a big problem. That's something that they're looking at. But how willing the council are to dip into that?
I suppose that's the crux of this discussion debate, regardless of the political parties or otherwise, as to where you fund it. Exactly. That's the crux of it.
And should ratepayers be hit again after having a rise in our rates last year? How do ratepayers feel about having to pay a few extra pound to fund the pay rise for workers? Well, only the ratepayers can tell us. So, but again, that's another solution. That's another possibility. I mean, no one's saying that that's actually going to happen, by the way. We'll just make that very clear. But lots on the table, lots to be discussed, lots to be sorted out. But at the minute, no resolution.
And first-hand news will come when it's available on your Lurgan, and you or others will be looking at that for the next week, because I'm on my holly ears, but that's another story.
Don't worry, I'll keep you right.
You're a good man. You're a good man. So to other news, a big week, the first of 2 weeks in a row when we hear about the success and the failure, and I'm going to use those two words very wisely because I'm going to come back to them. The success and failure of those who were taking exams over the last year or so in our schools. Big exam week this week for the A-levels students, and then next week for the, is it GCSE students and thereafter?
So we've been covering this week the results from local schools. We had Lismore, we've had St. Ronan's. We hope to have the coverage from Lurgan College as well over the next few days of their A-levels results. Just haven't made their way in yet, but we know they're coming. But it's a tricky time for students, a horrible time. For some students actually quite enjoy this period. For me, I I recall exam results day very well. Couldn't wait to get it over. Yeah, horrible. I didn't actually complete my AS levels. This is my. I'm going to tell my exam story because I think people should not be hung up on exam results. There's always a path to do whatever you want to do. Because I did my GCSEs, and the only reason I did my AS levels at the school, I think my year was the first year ever to do AS levels, which are sort of in between GCSEs and A levels. You do a year of AS levels and then it's A2, which give you your total A level. But I had done the only reason I did my AS levels was because I wanted to stay at the school I was in. I didn't really know. I was studying Spanish, French, and geography, and at the end of the first year, I very quickly realized that I had no idea what I was going to do with my exam results, or I didn't really want to go anywhere. I was quite happy at home. I didn't really enjoy the subjects I was doing that much after all. I enjoyed languages, loved studying languages at GCSE, but then they started throwing books at you to read, novels and stuff. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't read books in English. Why am I going to read them in Spanish or French? So I ended up, for some reason, somehow ended up doing a week's work experience at the Newry Democrat and discovered that I love journalism. And it just so happened that what was then the Upper Bank Institute had an open day a few weeks later, and they were offered a journalism course. Unfortunately, I wasn't qualified to get onto the course at that stage, but I went and did I left the school I was at after doing my AS levels, did 2 years of what was then the AVCE Media Studies. I think it's now something different, like an HND course or something. And then did a year of journalism, and it was brilliant. And here I am now. I went from being a work experience kid at the Newry Democrat to editing the Newry Democrat within the space of about 10 years. So just goes to show, don't get hung up on exam results. You can do whatever you want. Just find your own path and go down it, and you'll be absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. Donald, do you remember getting your exam results?
It's a different story for me, but and I'll come to it maybe in a little while. Your story is the way the education system should resurrect itself to its aims and point them towards increasing and encouraging creativity to people, giving them the opportunity to have an understanding of the wider schemes and sorts of life, and move away from the competitive model that it is, to not be fodder for an industrial age system that works you towards academia. That's the key aim of most of the study. It's tiered based to how you go to university, which is fine and dandy if you want to specialize, and that's great. But it's all based on the results, It qualifies and quantifies and screws people's heads up around exams. It's completely wrong. It always was and always will be. There's a room for it to some degree. It's aspirational towards success, when in fact the model should be something along, I don't know if you know the poem If, where you treat triumph and disaster in the same way, that it can come and it can go, but it should never define you. It's all about definition, and it's all based around. I think I'm starting to sound like a lefty here, left-wing philosopher, as it were. It's necessary for the industrial and the models that need to quantify the number of people who can do this, the number of people who can do that. Does it help the individual clearly to define themselves, to become not efficient, but to be effective?
Mm-hmm.
And that for me is the role of education, to become effective, to get the understanding that you want to do what you want to do. You got to it after the exams. Happenstance just being in that point. There's a lot of young people are so busy, caught up in, I have to do this, this is what they tell me it should be. But what about me? What do I really feel like? When do you know that you really feel like that? Perhaps until you're 18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
And already
You know what?
somebody else has defined you
Yeah.
because the education system says that's what you got to do. The careers man says you got to do this, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It's a hobby horse for me.
Yeah. And do you know what else? Right. So obviously the last couple of years, exams, well, we haven't really had exams. We've had, due to COVID, we've had sort of practical based results, if you like. I don't really know how to term them, but a lot of it was based on coursework and stuff like that. Now, see, for me, if I'd been at school and my work had been based on coursework and stuff like that, I'd have been fine. My results would have been a lot higher than what they were now. I absolutely crumbled in exam situations. Because there's so much pressure on you to try and do well. I went to exams, my stomach was in knots every time I sat down to do an exam. And I absolutely hated them. And I know that my results probably would have been a lot better if my results had been based more on what I actually did and learnt in class than what I did on one particular day out of, I don't know how many there are in the school year, but you know what I mean? Two school years, really, I suppose you think about it, for GCSEs or A levels. So I don't think exams are the first way to judge how a student has fared, because surely everybody does the same coursework at a school, or or wherever they choose to do it. So what's the difference between that and exams?
Here's the other thing about it too. Everyone who comes to school has different abilities and different skills and different levels of understanding as to what's involved in that learning process. Some will have mathematics skills, some will have language skills, and some will have a difficulty with both. And I know there's encouragement, and this is not to get at any teacher, not for 1 second. They're caught up in a system where they have to show and provide results. Schools, years after year, are given incentives and disincentives if they don't get exam results. And the constant pressure is to rise the level. There's a big disappointment when they're not, the results in our school weren't as good or as high as last year. Why? I mean, that's the way it is. You're putting the pressure on the schools. The parents are putting the pressure, and they're doing it with the best intention, Michael. I know that, or I hope so. They want their children to succeed, as it were. But at the core of it is that serving the young person who's put under the pressure of exams, and we know how much mental health problems this brings about. I'm not looking for a soft ride for anyone in any sense. But at the same time, I'm not looking for that hard ride that really gives people a tough time. It gives so many people a tough time. And it doesn't get to the core of what they could be. They haven't discovered what they could be. We're all designed at trying to find more people to do this work, more people to do that work. Where's the person themselves that doesn't get the chance to figure out what they would like to do, whether it's as an artist, whether it's as a plumber, whether it's as a gardener, or whether it's just somebody who wants to go and do whatever they do. I know and understand the responsibility that we have to maintain ourselves in a society, that we have to be of value to the society to make it work and whatever. But the demand is so high that that's all that we care about. Where's the me in this?
Yeah.
Do you see where I'm at?
Yeah.
And it's not something that I've thought up just off the top of my tree. It's experiential, and I went through to university level and the rest. I have a degree, Michael. I can tell you, in partying. And little else. But what I want to quickly come back to, and we'll move on shortly after it, some of this philosophy has been around forever. One protagonist for this was Sir Ken Robinson, leading educationalist, and led the campaign when Tony Blair was coming along, and was at the heart of education. And his model for education was around creativity. Didn't move away for pushing or giving the opportunity to move to academic level, which what the system seems to be going to, the pyramid, as it were, towards that academic level. He wanted to open up the creativity opportunity, and he writes brilliant books, or did write brilliant books. Passed away. He's married to a lady from around the Newry area. Well known protagonist for this creativity. getting people to allow them to be in their element. You know the phrase. How do you know you're in your element? You don't until you give them space to do it. There are different ways of doing it. I can't reconstruct the whole educational system, but I like to hear and see more thinking about along those lines. And you can't, if governments or otherwise are demanding that your figures go up, just like business, you have to have improvement year on year. You're pushing. Where's the dangle of the carrot to allow the young person to be effective to themselves? And all the rest of that will take care of itself. It's a simplistic philosophy, but well, let's hope. And it takes all the pressure of those young people this week and others. Quick story about my own exams. I hardly did diddly squat at school. I had the gift, I suppose, of being able to have understanding and turn it around in exams. I crammed information in the 2 years or whatever that I did for all the exams into about 3 days. Stayed up all night, finished whatever, did the exam, came out thinking, that's that over. You can forget about my A levels. And then the morning of the A levels, I remember well the envelope arriving and my sister bringing it upstairs, and I tentatively opened it and I looked at it 3 times. 3 times I looked at it. They've got it wrong. My goodness, there's something wrong here. Because there was, in the middle of it all, a nay for one of the results. I said, that's not me, that's somebody else. And I tentatively rang up the school to confirm. And when they said yes, I let a leap of excitement and joy. That's fantastic, because I didn't believe it. And all it was to do was the fact that I could do well in exams. And what's the most important thing in all of this? Don't allow the definition of others to define you as a young person or as a success. If you want to run with the fact that, oh, this is great and I'm going to move on and I've got an opportunity, that's wonderful. Take it and run. The other side, don't allow the definition of someone else's definition of failure to say, I'm a failure, which so many people live in that whatever. There's some people who can tell you that they did or they didn't pass the 11 plus 20, 30, 40 years. They allow that to kind of be their be all and end all of what their life definition was. Either how they think about that or how it spoke to others. It doesn't matter a diddly squat, because you can move on from that. You can do other things. You can be the person that you want to be. I think we'd better stop here.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with you. Couldn't agree more. Anyway, what else have we been doing this week? Oh yeah, we had an interesting interview you carried out this week with a local photographer. That was really good.
It speaks to the very story we're talking about.
Exactly, it really does. Actually,
Absolutely. Stephen J. Bradley, lovely, lovely man, who found himself working in whatever industry he's working in. I think he works in the beef industry. He's in a factory situation. And he decided and lifted himself up out of that situation when he discovered, and I suppose from the words of others, he was doing this, taking pictures, probably on his phone. And he discovered he had an eye for it. And he got the reinforcement from others, and he went and took the course. Let's get a little bit of the insight into that now.
I was working full time, so went to night class. I done the regional first, then I done GCSE level 2.
Wow.
And then I done Photoshop advanced and Lightroom advanced. So
not alone learning how the camera works, but learning the background of what you have to do afterwards too.
Yeah, there was a lot of studying in it, you know. But it was big money to do it, but it was well worth it at the end.
So why did you want to go into photography? I mean, you told us that friends told you were good. What drew you to it?
It was just that I was at a crossroads in life, and I was thinking, well, what am I going to do for a hobby? And couldn't think of anything. So I was around Lurgan Park one night, and I took an amazing picture, and it turned out really, really good. And people were saying, oh, you should take it on, take it. So that's where it all came about.
And was that with a big fancy camera or just your pocket phone?
No, it was only mobile phone at that stage. So we went to the tack, and we got the bigger camera, second hand. It was only like £100.
Like a DSLR, as they call it.
Well, you had to have it to go into the class. Oh, I'll have to go and take that blur out. Yeah, put the blur back in. This is automatic blur. This is professional, professional photography. This one here. So, and it's got at the back of the picture. You sort of like if you take a picture of a duck or a swan, you would have like a flower in the back. It's all like what do you call it? It's like bouquets at the back. You know, the flowers, the picture. So that's where the money's coming in. That's
Does that mean
G-Master.
does that mean that you can't really take a bad picture, or is that too simplistic?
Well, that camera you can't really take it. You can't take a bad picture with it. Like
That's Stephen J. Bradley. He's a lovely man, lovely, and very enthusiastic, and wants to show you his photographs and wants to share his photographs, maybe win a competition and the rest. Give me a few tips, Michael. He did. He definitely did. Lovely fella.
Tell you what, it's actually hard. Like coming from my background in the press, the importance of a photograph, you know, it's incredibly understated because you think of some of the major events we've had in the world over the years, some of the photos that define those, you know, they're incredible. Now, I'll say I'm coming from a press point of view, but I've seen some of Stephen's work as well. It's fantastic, you know, and capture moments like that there. We all do it these days. We all capture moments on our phone. You know, we went away there on a holiday and pretty much everything that happened, there was a photo taken at it, you know. So, no, listen, Stephen, well done. Your photos are fantastic. And we hope to be hearing a lot more of you very, very soon.
And we hope to be out for his winter shoot, as it were. You can go out today. It's like a winter shoot. But it might mean me getting up. Oh, no, it won't. It'll be darker later. I was thinking it was going to mean getting up at 4 and 5 o'clock. I might get a lie in before I go out with him sometime. Looking forward to that.
The things you do for your Lurgan, Donagh. Very good. The world of sport. We're back. We're into the world of sport. And in fact, yesterday, Saturday, was a big day in local football. The Mid-Ulster season finally properly got underway. Obviously, Intermediate A has been underway for a week or so now. Some teams in that league have played 4 games already. That's incredible. But the rest of the divisions were all getting underway. We had spoken to the managers of a few of the teams. We've been looking at Donaghcloney, my old part of the world, looking at how they've been starting up for the new season, in terms of how, because everyone knows Donaghcloney had a reserve team, or sorry, first team and a reserve team, but now they've actually managed to set up 4 teams this year they're going with. So big expansion at Donaghcloney, new management team in place there as well. The boys down there are doing a really good job in terms of keeping things local and getting the community involved in the club. So they have to be praised for that there. Away from them, they're in Division 2 this year. Up a league in Division 1, Hill Street getting underway with a new manager as well. They're having legend Stevie McBride taking the reins there, alongside his son Scott, who's the assistant manager. So Johnny has been speaking to them as well about that. Now I know the season's already underway and whatever else, but if you want to have a look back and see how they have been getting on, we have a preview in written form in the sports section of our website. So go and take a look at that. And also in the world of football this week, we're going to transport back. This is my magic moment where I get to disappear from here and then reappear this Saturday or this week. I'm going to appear at Moorview Park because Glenavon have been playing Larne in game 2 of the Danske Bank Premiership, Glenavon's first home game of the season. So how did they get on? Let's find out. Woo.
Hello from the comfy seats at Moorview Park. Oh, are you joking? This is my sofa. Where I have just remembered that I forgot to record a video at the final whistle following today's game between Glenavon and Larne. Whoops. However, I regret to inform all of our listeners that Glenavon were beaten 2-1 by Larne in today's game. What a game it was, actually, if you're a neutral. Drama, red cards, late goals. Of course, if you're a Glenavon fan, that's absolutely useless, and they've been beaten rather controversially, I suppose. Glenavon fell behind sort of midway through the first half. Paul O'Neill finishing after capitalising on I suppose you could call it an error by the goalkeeper Rory Brown, but Glenavon did get back in level terms through Micheál Glynn, his first goal for the club. 5 minutes before the break, got onto the end of a cross, very deep cross actually, by Jack Malone. Got onto it well, and made no mistake at the back post. So that was 1-1 going into the break. Glenavon looking good. Everyone's happy. But then Glenavon went down to 10 men first of all. Callum Burney sent off. Controversially, you could say. Seemed an innocuous enough challenge, but the referee decided he was the last man and he had to be sent off. Now, replays might suggest otherwise, but the referee's decision is final, I suppose, and Glenavon were down to 10 men. Then they were down to 9 men for the second week in a row when Jack Malone was sent off. Two players collided sort of in the middle of the park. Both slid in what was a wet pitch, but Malone was the man that was sent off. Again, you might want to have a look at the replay of that one. Shame we can't bring you the highlights, isn't it? But unfortunately our budget doesn't stretch to it. So Glenavon, 1 each, down to 9 men, battling, hung on, did well, weathered the storm until, would you believe, the 96th minute, deep in the stoppage time. Referee Andrew Davey awarding a penalty for a handball against Sean Ward. Ben Doherty, formerly a Glenavon player, he stood up and took the decisive penalty with the last kick of the ball and gave Larne all 3 points. No time for Glenavon to respond. So, disappointing defeat for Glenavon in the end. Next up for them, a trip away to Coleraine on Friday night. Your Lurgan derby. That's Johnny McNabb's team, the mighty Bandsiders. So Glenavon will be about 4 players now due to suspension. So it's going to be a tough game up there. Always is. But yeah, particularly tough this time round. So, interesting one. So that's your Lurgan roundup of today's action in the Irish League.
You are scary, that's for sure.
I know. I don't know how I do that every week. It's just magic. Yeah. I've even managed to gauge my clothes in between as well. It's unbelievable, you know.
Picture a place way out the outer limits. Anyway, yeah. Did you learn much for the experience? No, that's a very bad pun. Leave that to another time.
Do you know something? I'm going to give you a stat as well going into the game. Which may well have been extended by the time we put this out, but sure. Glenavon hadn't beaten Larne since 2007. And since then they've played them 11 times, lost 9, drew 2. So Glenavon have not beaten Larne, or hadn't beaten Larne since 2007. So if this has come out, obviously, we're pre-recorded anyway. People know that.
Refer further back down the tape to see if that's the truth.
Yeah,
and maybe I'll be able by science to put that little very extract within.
Okay. I'm gonna let you work your magic on that one, Donald. Anyway, we'll try again. Yes, so there you go. That's the football. Then the world of GAA. Where were you? You were at Clonard, were you?
I was at Clonard, second week in a row there to
you'll be getting a season ticket.
I will be watching the presentation of a trophy. They were the first division ladies champions throughout Armagh. They won, I think, all their games. The previous week we were at St. Paul's and they won. Was it the 4th division? They got a trophy. This time there was a lady coming down from Armagh GAA, and in the wonderful technology, the expertise that I have in the technology from the live, the first 5 minutes were in silence. So for the surrounding people, we had to do the presentation a second time with sound. So that's what I was at. It was lovely, a lovely bunch of people, and I went around to talk to the girls. You can see it right now. I talked to the girls just to give them their name, and then I panned down very quickly, and there was a wee boy of about 4, and he gave his name too. So he was part of the trophy winning too.
Very good, very good. Shall we take a look back at that?
Absolutely. What you missed, and that's my fault, apologies for that. We had the presentation of the trophy, so can you come back over and quickly present the trophy again? When we tried this in rehearsals, it didn't quite happen like that. So we now need to know your name again.
Sinead, Real.
Sinead, you've come down from the county board.
Yeah.
You're presenting the trophy. So present it, because we want to hear the biggest cheer when it gets presented to our captain here.
Yeah. So well done, Neve and Clanahern. Take two on winning the Division 1 league.
When you watch the rerun on Sky 4 tomorrow night, you will hear the sound, but don't worry about it too much. I was asking you there, and I wanted people to hear it again. This is a great club to be involved in. How long have you been playing ladies football here?
I'd say I've been playing since I was about 7 or 8 years old. So quite a while. I'm 27 now. So yeah, it's my life. Yeah, it's all I love to do. So.
And this is a special club now. They've won the division. How far can they go?
Yeah, I think we're taking one step at a time. We've had a few disappointing years in the championship, the past two, so we're taking each win as it comes. The standard in the Armagh Division 1 is getting higher and higher, so we're just delighted to win this League Cup at the minute and just getting ready for championship, and hopefully we can take it to the next level this year and win the championship.
And who will you play in the championship?
Our first round we got a bye, so we're either going to be playing the Grange or Shane O'Neill's on the weekend of the 9th of September.
So you have to see who comes through that.
Yes,
and then
we'll have to see, and then yeah.
Okay. The last time round you gave a few names. We didn't have the sound. I'm going to go towards them. Eugene can join us, and we're going to get the girls to name who they are in the team. They're really looking forward to that. Right. Thank you very much, and congratulations. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So give your names. Tell us who you are.
Anna McStred.
Nice and loud.
Roisin Mulligan. Grania Carville. Laura Brown. Mag Scarville. Charlotte McConville. Anya Hoy. Sarah Douglas. Catherine Lawless. Nate McDade.
Rhoda Cambridge.
Sinead Kernan. Mia Toyardi. Dan Kernan. Trevor Goman. Una McConville. Neve Murray. Megan McKeown. Maeve McCambridge. Kate Doe. Neve Coleman. Ethan McGibbon. Hannah McConville. Sophie Doyle. Alana Dorn. Eamon McConaughey. Evie Henderson.
Well, congratulations to all of you. Who's this member?
I'm J-Boy.
The best known man in Lurgan, the best Celtic supporter, Jay Beattie. Good for you. And I don't ask us, who's your favourite player in the team?
I want to marry Nave.
Congratulations. Your daddy Tommy will be very happy for both
yes,
of you.
he's already given permission.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Well done, girls. Well done. We're going to talk to the manager now. Eugene's going to do that. And apologies, the sound is working now, but there's no film in the camera, so we have to go and do it again.
You have two chances of that. James Daly. James is a famous manager at Clanahern at the minute. James, you've just got married, so will Clanahern see more of you or less of you?
Well, my other team from Anna, we got beat at the weekend, so that's a lot more time freed up. No, look, these are a great bunch of girls, and looking forward to the next 3-4 months and seeing how the season pans out.
So it's funny, actually, just as a part of that, I would know a lot of people there. I would have lived in that kind of area, Victoria Street, for a year, way back when. So I have a lot of friends who are Clanahern folks. I saw some friends who I would have played five-a-side football with. One of them was Desi Brady. And Desi is part of the Clanahern club. He's been involved in it all his life, and he's older than I am. And he had invited me previously to take part in walking football that happens in the club. They have it in their big arena. I'll do a feature in the future, Michael. Really, really a lot of fun. And I'd opted out after a couple of times the last time, and I went back. And do you know what? You know things are tough at Manchester United. Ronaldo is likely to be gone. If I played just a few more days of walking football, I could be a contender for the Manchester United shirt. The way things are going, things are going, anybody will have a contention. But there you go. There's walking football elsewhere. The Jethro Centre have had it too. Any walking football around where you are? For us old fogies, that's what it's for.
I'm not aware of it, but I think I'd be very good at that.
I would think so. You
would
like
be on opposing teams and just get each other. Do you know what I was doing this week? I was actually playing cricket.
I heard that.
Some of our readers may remember we ran a competition recently for tickets to the 100. So as part of that, there was a press event held on Wednesday at Muckamore Cricket Club. And I got invited down to play cricket. I'm pleased to say that I returned with good bowling figures of two wickets for the loss of 4 runs. Turns out I can't bat, but I had a 4, so I was very pleased with myself. But it was a great day. Thanks to Duffy Rafferty Communications and the good people at KP for inviting me to that. But yeah. Oh, and I've been at the gym. I've started back at the gym as well, Donna. I'm like, I can't move today. I'm absolutely stiff as a board.
Wow.
So yeah, there you go. I'm going to try and get fit for this walking football.
So that's the sport then. Have we much more to say on that front? I know you keep up with the bowls and all the rest.
With all the bowls, and you know we're going to try and keep you up to date with all the Mid-Ulster League results, as I said earlier on, as well. So, but keep an eye on your Lurgan for all those match reports. And if you want to send in a match report, of course, feel free to support@yourlurgan.com. We'd be glad to hear from you.
And from other sporting clubs and associations too, very open to that.
Oh, absolutely. Anybody at all. I mean, whether you're the local Tiddlywinks club or whether you're
the Walking Football League, we might get your report.
We'd love to
get your report on that.
Yeah. So you can call yourselves the Wanderers.
No, the looking to think about wandering, I suppose. Yeah.
But that's pretty much it this week, Donna. We've come to the end of the podcast, I suppose, except to remind everyone. We've reminded people how to get in contact with us with a sports story. But if you've got anything else, info@yourlurgan is the email address. Don't forget as well that we're on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn now as well. We're all over social media, so just find us. Just search for Your Lurgan. You'll find us, no problem. And yeah, of course, all the regular updates, especially on the council strike, on yourlurgan.com.
So I said that I was away, but I'll be keeping my hand in because I'm going to do a wee series for you across the week, looking, I suppose, at the history of the town and about my kind of engagement within all sorts of stuff, just to give you a flavour of stuff that you probably already know, but it's nice to be sharing it. So hopefully I'll have those reports. I think, are you looking one a day? You're a tough man. 5, I think you're looking for? Yeah, just right 2. Tough taskmaster. He really didn't force me. I kind of put the idea in his head a long time ago. So anyway, it's the carrot rather than the kick up the whatever, which is the way education should be. Just got that in at the very last there.
Absolutely. Anyway, that's us.
So thank you very much for watching, listening, wherever you have your podcasts. If you can share them, please do. We'd love to get the word out there in a wider sphere. If you want to get in touch, as Michael has said, we're on those social medias, and it's info@yourlurgan.com. As you can probably see in the visuals, I'm Donagh McKeown, and
I'm Michael Scott.
And that's a Your Lurgan podcast. Thank you for watching and listening.
Bye now.